This is the introduction to the Grape Video Series on viticultural information. Passion. It's a word that can make us feel uneasy because we often think of passion in human terms as an intense liking for another person. Well, that's true, but there are other types of passion, aren't there? Oh, yes. There is passion for golf, and if you're a golfer or play at it, you probably know what I mean. But if you've never played golf or don't like it, a person's passion for golf seems irrational. It seems stupid that you would chase a little white ball around with a bunch of sticks. Well, that's what passion is about. People who have passion for something are looked by others who don't have it as having some irrational level of liking for a certain thing. There are other types of passion. Oh, there's passion for sports like football and hockey, baseball. Yes, there's passion for that, all right. Oh, and chocolate. Now, women would like to deny their passion for chocolate often because of calories and dieting and all that. But deep down, many women have this passion for chocolate, even if they don't always admit it even to themselves. Oh, yes, and cooking and baking. Yes, a lot of passion for baking and cooking, that's for sure. Oh my gosh, music. That's the language of passion. Music. How passionate it is to listen to it, to play it, to create it. Huge amount of passion for music. Oh boy, cars. I still remember my 1966 Chevy Malibu. Oh, it was a beauty, and did I ever have passion for that car. I've had a lot of family cars since then, but I still remember that 66. Oh boy, gambling. Yes, there's passion for gambling, and that can be good or bad, but there's definitely passion for gambling, all right. Ah, these are orchids. Yes, a lot of people have a horticultural passion for orchids. But now that we've transferred over to the topic of horticulture, I can't believe that there's any greater passion worldwide by so many people in such an intense way than for grapes. Yes, grapes, and especially when they're converted into wine. Oh yes, there's lots of passion there. I have been so fortunate over the past almost 4 decades to know and be associated with so many hundreds of people who have had the passion for grapes and for wine. Some of these pictures are in very poor condition because they're 40 years old, but I've been blessed to know hundreds and hundreds of people who share the passion for grapes and wine. And it goes on worldwide. And as we look at some of these folks, they're quite a bit older now. And as we go through all the people that we've known, there stands out one person who in my life's history and passion for grapes stands out, and that is Professor Nelson J. Shawless from Cornell University, who had such a deep passion and was such a world-class viticulturist, and he shared his abilities and knowledge with so many people. That was a man of passion for the grapes. And that's why we've created this series, to share the passion for grapes and ultimately for wine. We hope that this video series will be helpful to those who are gaining in their passion for grapes and for wine. As we proceed through this grape video series, we'll begin with a discussion of the structure of a grapevine. We'll look at grapevines in several ways so we completely understand how a grapevine functions. If we don't understand that, we can't understand how to manage the grapevine and make it produce the luscious fruit that we desire. So that's where we'll begin, with the structure of the grapevine. There are many things we need to know to grow grapes well. Oh, this is ugly, isn't it? Well, we're going to talk about establishing a vineyard, vineyard site selection, and vineyard site development as shown here. How we begin to shape the ground with cover cropping. How to mark the field when it's ready for planting. The actual planting process that goes on at the time of the start of the vineyard. Covering the vines over after the planting process. Perhaps installing an irrigation system. Now we have the start of the new growth of the vineyard. This is a wonderful time. And as the vineyard progresses through the growing season, we see our hopes and desires to fulfill our passion for the grape become a reality. And because grapevines don't support themselves, we have to build trellis. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the many ways that we build a trellis, the posts, the staples. And here's a device that puts end posts in the ground very easily and quickly. We'll talk all about the aspects of building trellis. And here are the sentinels in a row, ready to support our grapevines for their growth and development. And there's the wires that have to be strung and tensioned, and we'll talk about how that's done. All the requirements to have a vineyard trellis that is in good condition and will give us long years of life. And the grapes themselves, there are something like 22 to 23,000 registered grape varieties worldwide. Ouch, that's a lot of varieties. Well, we'll talk about a lot of them, not 22 or 23,000, but we'll talk about many different grape varieties that might be suitable for planting in your vineyard. There are so many good ones. Oh, and so many that may not be so good, depending upon the site that you have and your vineyard conditions. So we'll talk about grape varieties and their various characteristics. Grapevines have to be trained in an orderly manner so they can be managed well to produce quality fruit. We'll talk about training systems like this mid-wire cordon training system schematic. And this is what it looks like in the field. There are many kinds of training systems. Here's another one. This is called Hudson River Umbrella or top wire cordon to some growers, and there are many others to be discussed and for decisions to be made on which one is the best for your vineyard. And after a vineyard is established, the largest single important task in the vineyard is pruning. There's so much to say about it. Is this particular part of this vine pruned well or isn't it? Well, here's a couple of people thinking that pruning is pretty much fun, and they're smiling. Pruning can be fun on a nice day, but we're also very serious about pruning vines because we know that it has so much to do with fulfilling our passion for the grape. And we don't just prune with pruning shears. We also use machines because mechanical pruning can change dramatically the economics of vineyard management, and that's important if you're going to be a commercial grower. After the vine is pruned, it has to be tied to the trellis, and there are several options here to talk about, and we'll get into those in one of the upcoming videos. It's very important to keep the vine tied well to the trellis through the whole growing season. Keeping the area around newly planted grapevines free of weeds is often the very most important task in planting a new vineyard, and that's what's going on here. Weed spray is being applied soon after vines were planted in this new vineyard site. In an upcoming video, we'll discuss many aspects of weed control in the vineyard. And we often plant cover crops in the row middles of a vineyard. This brand new vineyard is being seeded in its row middles as shown here. This is a vineyard in its second year of growth. The foreground shows vines that have not had good weed control or have not been fertilized. How small they look compared to those in the background that have had good fertilization and weed control. These are very important topics, and we'll talk about them under the topic of vineyard establishment in upcoming videos. Grapes. For more than recorded history, for more than 8,000 years, man has included grapes in his culture and has grown a passion and a joy for this crop that is so very, very special. Grapes, we see it down through the ages in artifacts and in numerous other ways that man has embraced grapes and wine and table grapes and grape juice as an intimate part of man's very existence. We see grapes everywhere we look, not just in vineyards, but in numerous artistic expressions. Man has had an intimate relationships with grapes over the millennia. We see it in wine cellars that are hundreds of years old and still functioning today. Some wine cellars are more than 1,000 years old, and yet the passion goes on for the grape and the wine year after year after year. In older cultures, such as this view in Italy, we see the passion on the hillsides. Gorgeous vineyards, with the outcome being gorgeous wines that are enjoyed worldwide. Over the millennia, thousands of acres of productive land have been committed to the production of the grape. And we see the beauty of the grape not only in European vineyards, such as this gorgeous vineyard at the University of Bologna in Italy, but also in the New World, as shown here in the Finger Lakes region of New York. Beautiful scenes, beautiful views, and from these vineyards come beautiful products. Man has developed the passion for wines and the production of grapes in numerous temperate climate vineyards all around the world. And there is beauty in the vineyard not only during the growing season, but in the deep recesses of winter, as shown here in a Finger Lakes vineyard in New York State. Sometimes grapes are left on the vine after the growing season to make special products, such as late harvest wines or ice wines, and there's still beauty in the vineyard even after the growing season. In the dead of winter, there's still a certain beauty to vineyards. Even in the morbidity of a spring freeze that can kill our precious grape crop, there's a certain beauty. At sunset, vineyards can look gorgeous. And after sunset too. This video series is designed to take the traveler through the many aspects of grape production, to learn the vine, its characteristics, how to manage the vine, how to find the right sites for vines, how to prune vines, how to train vines, how to control the weeds in the vineyard around grapevines, how to control diseases, how to adjust the grape crop for maximum production of fruit quality, and many other aspects of grape production. Let's take a travelogue through this southwest Michigan vineyard. It's late winter, there's just a trace of snow left on the ground, and soon the vineyard will begin its annual cycle of growth and come back to life. The snow is disappearing, and perennial weeds are starting to green up on the hillside and down below the vineyard too. This is the time when the grower has to fear spring freezes if the buds start to grow too early in the spring. Now we see more growth of the weeds, looking greener, and we see some life in the trees beyond. Here is a close-up of the vineyard in early May from the perspective of the tractor driver going down the road to spray vines to keep them healthy. Oh, there's no going back now, because the buds have broken, the shoots are out. If there's a freeze now, most certainly much of the crop will be lost for the year. So the grower begins his work. He's already pruned the vines, trained them to the wires, done weed control under the trellis, and he's ready for the new season. Growth begins to accelerate in the latter part of May, and even at a distance we can see that the vineyard is starting to get greener, more growth on the trellis. Well, we're back on the tractor seat. It's been 2 weeks since the last time we rode the rows on the tractor. Look at the growth. It's gone from 2, 3, 4 inches in length to perhaps 2 feet long. All in a matter of 2 weeks in the latter part of May. Well, we're going through the last week of May and the first half of June to look at that vineyard green up. Isn't that amazing? Well, it's early June. It's been 13 days since our last tractor ride down the rows, and wow, look at that growth continue to accelerate. We had 18 to 24 inch growth last time we took a ride, and now we have shoots that are over 3 feet long, some of them approaching 4 feet in length. We're going to slow this down so that we can look more closely at what's going on here. There. Now we're going to go down the road just a little ways, and we're going to look at why this time of the growing season is so important to the grower. Right there. That's the start of grape bloom with grape clusters. Yes, it's out of focus here, but we're going back to look at this in much more detail in one of our later videos. But early June, at least in southern Michigan, is very important for the start of grape bloom and all that it means to the grower. Well, we're back in time lapse and we're going through June, and the growth is just going crazy. Look at that. Well, here we are. It's June 19th, 15 days since our last ride in the tractor seat. You might be getting the impression by now that we're taking these tractor rides about every 2 weeks because we're on a 2-week spray schedule for controlling disease in the vineyard. Well, things are out of control here. We've got shoots in excess of 5 feet long, and we're in the midst of a jungle. We absolutely have to do something about the growth here. Very soon we're going to come in and do some things like shoot positioning, summer pruning, those canopy management issues that will get this vineyard under control, because if we don't, the fruit's going to be shaded all summer and we're going to have very poor quality fruit. Here we go through the jungle. But in the next video, we'll have it under control. Well, we're back to the time lapse, and this segment is from mid-June to mid-July, and there's still shoot growth going on, but not like we've seen before. This is a time period when the crop has set and the fruit is starting to slow down the growth of the shoots because the energies of the vine are being put into fruit development as opposed to shoot growth. This time it's been 3 weeks since our last trip on the tractor because we're in the midst of a drought here, although it doesn't look it. There hasn't been rain in weeks, and the disease pressure is down, so we've extended sprays to a 3-week period. And we've done some summer pruning with the mechanical pruner. We've done some hand work to do some shoot positioning. You can see some of the trash on the ground that's drying up from the summer pruning. And we're back to a manageable hedge, if you will, in the vineyard rows. This vineyard's a bit unusual, by the way. It's a trellis about 8 feet tall as opposed to about 6 feet for a normal vineyard. So if it looks a bit different, it is. Well, this time-lapse segment goes all the way from mid-July to early October, and things don't change a lot. You may see the canopy getting denser, and then sometimes it looks like it's less dense because of summer pruning, but mostly the vineyard looks stable at this time. We sprayed all through this period, but we didn't take videos of those trips through the vineyard, so we're going to take you right up to the time period when we have fruit well matured and approaching harvest. Well, here we are. It's September 24th, looking at the terraces in southern Michigan with a south-facing slope, and you can see these ribbons of Cabernet Sauvignon facing the sun and getting full sunlight all day long. Every row getting full sun because of the steep terracing. And whereas it might not seem that Cabernet Sauvignon could be grown well in a climate like Michigan, this unusual mesoclimate with a steep south-facing terrace slope makes it ideal for ripening this late harvest variety. We've moved along another week. It's now October 1st. We're taking a walking tour on the backside of one of those Cabernet Sauvignon terraces. In the background you can see the field below, and that's where the time-lapse camera is housed. You can see a few things in this video. This is Scott Henry training, and in one of our future videos we'll talk in great detail about vine training systems. You can see that we've adjusted the canopy here so that all the leaves are sun leaves. No shade leaves here. That most of the crop here is borne on the upper part of the trellis with just a little down below. There's plenty of time yet for the crop to finish ripening. We won't pick this crop for another few weeks. Everything is set with healthy leaves, healthy fruit, so as we approach the conclusion of the season, we can see that we will be ready to harvest our precious crop. Well, it's harvest. It often starts on a foggy, cool fall morning like this. And as the day progresses, things start to pick up, spirits pick up. There's great pride in harvesting a wonderful crop like this. The crew works hard all day long, and the weather improves through the day. It gets sunnier, warmer, spirits are up. We're getting the grapes in the bin, getting ready to send our precious crop to the winery and conclude all of the hard work that we have done all year long to grow this abundance from our vineyard. It's after harvest, kind of a sad time because we worked so hard to grow the crop and now it's gone. This is an important time for grapevines because the post-harvest period is needed to build up reserves for the winter, create hardiness in the grapevine. So just like the hardwood forest has gone to rest for the winter and lost all its leaves, so too with the grapevine. And then one day, all of a sudden, there's snow. Oh my goodness, snow. And look at how the snow melts off that south-facing slope because it's so warm, but not so quickly down in the valley. And gradually here it is, mid-December. The snow disappears, but fear not. When it comes January, there'll be lots of snow for a long time in southwest Michigan. But here we are, the end of the year. The vineyard is asleep, waiting for its rebirth next spring.